X-Files Rewatch Podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
Now, aside from not being here last week because we were on holiday, I don't think we've got anything to say.
No, I don't think I've had any gossip in the last week.
So I suppose we should get to our penultimate episode of Season 8. And then we get to watch one episode this week, and then we get to watch something else. In the last regular episode of Season 8 and the last Monster of the Week episode, involving the original cast, I think this is.
This is David Duchovny's last ever Monster of the Week episode, I believe, until the revival.
Yep. And not Gillian Anderson's, but it's the last time either of them will be anywhere near the X-Files office for a bit.
From what I understand, at the point Alone was written, they knew, and I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say, that Season 9 would focus on Doggett and Reyes running the X-Files.
Yeah. Well, we've said Reyes is going to be a mainstay of the series, so...
Yeah. So this is the point, not only is it David Duchovny or Mulder's final Monster of the Week episode, but it's the point where Scully essentially retires from the X-Files as well.
Yeah. But for now, Alone. Directed and written by Frank Spotnitz and first broadcast on the 6th of May 2001. The guest stars, there's Zach Grenier, who played Herman Stites. He was in Working Girl, which I know you're laughing at mostly because of Bob's Burgers.
Yes.
He was also in a Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder film See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
Okay.
Because they did a lot of stuff together in the 80s.
Alright.
Cliffhanger.
Okay, yeah.
Twister, and I'm pretty sure he's the guy who works for Carrie Elways. Put a pin in him, because we'll come back to Carrie Elways, bizarrely, who gets sucked into the Twister towards the end of the film.
Okay, yeah.
Because they don't listen to Bill Paxton's good meteorologist. He's the evil corporate meteorologist.
Yeah, Carrie Elways is the bad meteorologist.
Yeah. Fight Club, where we're pretty sure he is his manager.
He's Jack's manager, yeah.
He's the narrator's manager.
The narrator. It's Jack.
In the end credits, though, he's the narrator. Pulse, the American remake of Cairo.
Oh, yes. Decent film.
Zodiac. And Star Trek Enterprise.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to mention her even though we haven't seen anything else she's been in ever. Jolie Jenkins plays Layla Harrison.
Okay.
Because she'll be back later. Never seen anything else she's been in.
Oh, fair enough.
And we've got James Otis as Arlene Sachs.
Yep.
He was in The Prestige.
Okay.
He was one of the blind stagehands.
Okay, yeah.
And Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
So I guess you got a synopsis for this one?
I do. In Ellicott, New York, Alan Sachs is killed by an unknown creature that sprays venom on its victims. His son Gary also goes missing. In the meantime, Scully is preparing for maternity leave and packs up her belongings at the X-Files office. She finds a medallion commemorating the Apollo 11 spaceflight that was given to her for her birthday shortly before Agent Pendrell died, or shortly afterwards. Scully gives John Doggett the medallion, explaining that it symbolises teamwork. After Scully leaves, Special Agent Layla Harrison arrives and tells Doggett that she is his new partner. The two are assigned to investigate Sachs' bizarre murder. At the crime scene, Doggett finds evidence of the venom, which is sent to the FBI lab for analysis. In her previous job, Harrison processed Mulder and Scully's travel expenses during their time on the X-Files, and has thus gained an encyclopedic knowledge of their investigations. Following a wooded trail from the crime scene, the agents stumble upon an upscale mansion and make their way inside. A strange creature clinging to the wall secretly observes their every move. Doggett discovers a study full of biology journals and a copy of anthropologist Richard Leakey's book, The Sixth Extinction. He pulls out his gun sensing that something is amiss. Finding R. Harrison in the hallway, he instructs her to position herself outside the house while he tries to flush out the creature. Moments after Doggett instructs Harrison to stand guard, he hears gunshots being fired. Rushing outside, he cannot find Harrison anywhere in the yard. He walks further to the edge of the lawn and falls to a trap door at the farthest edge. During an autopsy, Scully correctly deduces that Sachs was blinded by reptile venom. Meanwhile, Doggett and Harrison, having fallen into an old bootlegger tunnel below the mansion grounds, encounter the creature and are sprayed with venom, temporarily blinding them. The two find Gary in dire need of medical attention nearby. Noting the agent's absence, Mulder searches the area around the mansion for clues and encounters the owner, Herman Stites, who identifies himself as a biologist. Mulder leaves the area as Stites notices Doggett about to escape the tunnels, knocking him back inside. Mulder waits in his car inside the driveway until dark, telling Scully he found the Apollo medallion near his estate and is convinced Doggett is somewhere nearby. He spots the creature and chases it to the mansion, where it climbs up to a second floor. Mulder follows the creature into the house and down into the tunnels, where he encounters Doggett and Harrison. With the creature approaching, Mulder tells the still blinded Doggett to open fire at his command. The blinded Doggett then shoots the creature as it leaps at Mulder. The deceased creature then turns into Stites. Later, Scully and Mulder meet Doggett, who has now fully recovered. He tells them that Harrison will make a full recovery as well, but that she is transferring herself off of the X-Files. Mulder attempts to give Doggett the Apollo medallion, but Doggett insists he give it to Harrison instead. Mulder and Scully then present it to Harrison, who accepts it in awe and asks awkward questions.
Thank you.
I have a weird theory about this episode, and
Okay.
it's kind of adjacent to James Bond.
Okay.
Oh, no. One of the things, if you read it on the backstory, when Sean Connery didn't want to do Bond anymore, they got George Lazenby in.
Yeah.
And he did one film, and then they got Sean Connery back, and then he was recast as Roger Moore.
Yeah.
And to some people over the years, I've kind of presented George Lazenby as a sacrificial lamb. It's the whole, he was never intended to be for more than one film, he was just to show it was possible. And even though people didn't like him so much, and his reputation has grown, but people didn't like him at the time, that meant that Roger Moore could come in easier.
Mm.
And I wonder if Layla Harrison is the same thing here. It's that we're not going to put Reyes in now, but we're going to show the transition of the partner to give you an entirely new X-Files crew. And then have to have a dropout just so that Reyes can slot in when we get to season 9.
It's a real skeptical take on it.
It is a little bit. Well, no, I'm not sure it's skeptical. I think it's preparing the ground for it. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I think she was done to make Reyes' transition easier.
I cite the counter-argument there, then, of the fact that Layla Harris is a memorial character.
Oh, yeah.
Because she is named for a very large X-Files fan and a prolific fanfic writer of the X-Files who tragically died of cancer in 2001. So that's why I feel she's a bit of a love letter to fans of the show, and I don't think you do that with a character of that sort.
I wouldn't say it's disrespectful. I still think it's... I don't think... Okay, maybe that was wrong with the George Lazenby. I think George Lazenby is a sacrificial lamb. I think Layla Harrison is more of an easing transition. She's not a sacrificial thing. She's just someone to make the transition work.
I see it more of... We previously saw this back in season 2, I think, or possibly 3, when Scully briefly left the series and we posited Kryzik as a replacement.
It's true.
So you got an episode with Mulder with a different partner, it didn't work out, and eventually we cycled back to Scully.
Yeah. Although I think at the time we said that I think Kryzik has the hallmarks of we had the abduction plot ready for Scully and her pregnancy compressed it. Because you needed like 3 episodes of Kryzik being on the level before he really works for Cancer Man. And that just meant it didn't work quite right.
Not to mention the fact that while George Lazenby is a very vanilla take on the much beloved Sean Connery Bond, who on rewatching the series is deeply problematic from a modern perspective, given how many times he hits women and dons yellow face in the course of that series. And George Lazenby is mild in comparison. But at the same time, nobody liked George Lazenby, and Layla Harrison is a delight.
Oh, true. I'm not trying to cast aspersion on her. I'm just saying that I think it's the same kind of mechanic being deployed.
Mm.
And for reference as well, though, there's a podcast called Kill James Bond, which is, they've moved on to other things now because they've long since gone through all the films. But basically, they were rewatching all the films and then grading them on a whole load of different subjects like SMARM and racial insensitivity.
That's kind of interesting. James Bond is something that's deeply nostalgic for me because I watched it with my dad when I was a kid. And last Christmas, my dad bought me a box set of the whole thing, and I thought, oh, that's great, I can finally rewatch them again. And realised that the first maybe 20 years of James Bond now have not aged very well.
No.
From, like, Timothy Dalton onwards, it's pretty great.
Yeah. This is never meant to impugn Layla Harrison. This is just to sort of say, I have to wonder if she's there to make Reyes easier to accept. I'm not saying she's a bad character. I very much like Layla. In fact, one of my biggest gripes will be I don't like how she turns up, her Lex appearance. I do like Layla Harrison. On rewatch, it's one of those, you start asking awkward questions about the FBI into dynamics. Of, okay, I'm sure in the FBI, you can work at the FBI, and you can be a computer operator, a file clerk, someone who does travel expenses, like Layla did. Pretty sure the special agents, you have to go through the training course and transition into being a special agent who does field work.
Yeah, as I think I mentioned to you when I watch it, I know somebody who started off working in a hospice as an administrative person and is now a nurse.
Yeah.
But it was a gradual transition of her being allowed to observe different medical procedures, and eventually they paid to put her through college so she could get a nursing degree and all the rest of it. It wasn't just the, hey, you fancy being a nurse? Here, take the scalpel.
Yeah, and you want to sort of say she is a clerical worker. She works for the FBI, sure, but she's a clerical person.
Yeah.
She didn't train as a field officer because Silence of the Lambs is the only example I can really sort of point towards of the actual process of becoming an FBI agent, because that's what she's doing in it, isn't she?
Well, I think it's some of the books get into it a bit more as well, of how Scully has come from being a medical doctor to an FBI agent with all her training at Quantico and things like that.
Yeah. She didn't apply to be in the claims department and then just, next day, I want to be I know, but I want to be an X-Files agent tomorrow. Because you want to go, have you had, firearms training, Layla? At all?
I think in most jobs, it's even if you're something really, really clerical and you want to be a different sort of cleric, so moving from some admin department to accounts, for example, you'd have some kind of training in there.
Yes. Well, one of the ways I understand it usually works is once you change career paths, you drop to the very bottom and have to work your way right the way back up again. So we have to throw all that aside for the joke to actually work, because half the fun is she shouldn't be in that office and she shouldn't be going to the field and she certainly shouldn't have been giving a firearm.
However, she does have an encyclopedic knowledge of the X-Files and basically has raised Mulder and Scully up to this almost deified position in her head.
Yeah, and we've got there's two ways of looking at that one. One is Doggett knows all the X-Files inside and out, which is I'm still surprised by this every time.
He's read every single one of them.
He has. I'm still surprised every time it comes up, but he has access to the files. I mean, we're going to have to just skate by. Didn't they all burn? And and Mulder was trying to recreate them, and
they did save a bunch of them.
They did save a bunch of them, but there's a whole lot of them irreparably damaged by fire. So, a Doggett, I understand, having read all the X-Files. Are they on the network? Because how much could Layla really know about what the case was?
Quite a lot, given she cites the entire ins and outs of the Toombs case.
Well, I know, but how does she know that? With the travel expense would be, we went to, I can't remember where Toombs is set. No, Toombs is Washington, isn't it?
Maryland.
So Toombs is reasonably close by. But then there'd be the vouchers for the car travel and motel hire and all the rest of it. No, not motel hire, just car travel. It's one of the ones where you want to say, how does she know all this? How much is in Mulder's travel expenses? Does Mulder just attach the entire case file to his expense when he goes in?
It's adorable. I really
know.
like, and I like it as a love letter as well as what could have potentially been the final Monster of the Week episode, that you have so many references in there. It's something you, in particular, have critiqued the series about, is not making reference to the past cases.
I'm not disputing that. It's just that it is a little odd how much she knows.
And in part, I think it's the fact that we've noted throughout the series that Spotnitz is one of the ones that really gets continuity.
Yes.
And this is the first ever, surprisingly, Spotnitz directed episode as well as written. So he's got so many little nods in there, even down to the kind of merged coin from Dreamland in Scully's desk.
Yeah. But the thing she still shouldn't have.
Well, you've got that. You've got Quake's colour. You've got the Apollo 11 medallion. You've got the reference to Toombs, the reference to the beginning when she talks about aliens shedding their skin.
Yep.
The Sixth Extinction book. There's loads of lovely little nods in there.
We come back to your frequent point through the season of Scully's just over there. She's doing...
Yeah, I can't forgive that. And I will get into that more in essence because that's particularly unforgivable for shafting Scully.
It doesn't...
But at the same time, Scully's going on her maternity leave now. This is her ramping down.
Oh, I know. I think it's one of those things about Scully as a character is they've always struggled to portray her outside of the work environment. Because, again, this can come up in essence of Scully has no friends.
No.
Scully has no hobbies.
No.
Scully has no life outside of work.
No.
And the series has always struggled with this. Mulder has gestures at that.
Like him playing basketball.
Exactly, and going to these UFO conferences and talking to the lone gunman.
You even see it, again, I don't want to talk about Essence too much because we'll get to that, but it's Doggett on a day off watching the NASCAR. Exactly.
It's an inherent problem, it seems, with the series that they've 8 years in and we still haven't actually done anything about it, of Scully has no life, basically. Everyone points to Mulder being the antisocial, introverted person who likes hiding away in a basement, but Scully had friends at one point.
At the very least, Mulder will hang out with the lone gunman.
Yeah. And we know, Scully has gone on 2 dates. She has been to her friend's kids' party once.
Had that fling with Tattoo Psychopath.
Yep, well, that was the 2 dates I was talking about.
Are you counting that one?
I'm taking to both dates, because that was second one was a date as well. And she nearly got seduced by a gender-shifting alien.
I mean, haven't we all?
Obviously. But it does feel... I probably only sort of realised on cumulative watch of that Scully has no life. Mulder has the shred of a life.
The only time we really had a bit of cute Scully social interaction was with Queequeg.
Yes.
And Queequeg lasted all of about 4 episodes.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit tied up with that, is that was Darren Morgan's thing, because no one else used Queequeg. It was all him.
Except for the little nod about Queequeg when she's clearing out her desk in this episode.
Oh, yeah. And again, you said that's Spotnitz doing continuity, which is good.
I think of all the writers, Spotnitz is actually very good at continuity. You've criticised some as not harking back, but Spotnitz is quite good at keeping the continuity going.
It's true, which is a nice change from certain other writers' flippancy. We'll get to that. You said the science of this episode is just bonkers.
Yeah, that's the X-Files, though, isn't it?
It is, but I think, isn't it like first principles? It's not even trying to make a plausible science. It's like that literally some of the facts are wrong.
Okay, I've noted this before, as I keep exotic pets. I do keep reptiles and insects. I'm more of an insect person, as I've gushed about bugs and protozoa and all sorts on these episodes now. But essentially, the attributes we kind of put on what the credits call the salamander man, although he's not a salamander, he's actually a reptile, and a salamander's an amphibian, so there we go. As particularly the way its venom works is more what I would think of as an arachnid. So you've got this idea of the venom that the salamander uses in this. First of all, he sprays it into things' eyes, which is something in the reptile world you only really see in spitting cobras. The idea that they can project their venom to blind their prey, or more usually predators that are coming for them. And it's very effective. People can make a full recovery if it's treated fast. If not, it essentially attacks the cornea and causes complete vision damage and even blindness. They particularly say the venom in this, what it's spitting, they mention proteases. So a protease is not a venom, though it can be part of a venom, but it's a digestive enzyme. So basically it's what is in your stomach juices that starts to break things down. So the idea is that this reptile is spraying this into their eyes, and it's slowly causing a complete tissue decay that essentially turns their body into a kind of nice healthy lunchbox that the reptile can then pierce and drink all the fluids out of. This is what spider venom does. It's not there are loads of different sorts of reptile venom that behave in different ways, because some of them are necrotizing, some of them cause pronounced bleeding, some of them are neurotoxins. But spiders, what they essentially do is they immobilize their prey, they paralyze it, and then essentially they inject digestive juices into their prey, which does the same thing. You know, their prey is generally other insects, which have the hardened shell anyway. So it essentially liquefies anything inside the insect so the spider can then drink it out. So I would believe it more in this episode, in my criticisms as the X-Files biologist here, of if he was some kind of insectoid creature, I'd buy this more about him being a lizard.
Yeah. And the upshot of all this as well is it feels absolutely implausible at the end to say, oh, Doggett's fine, and Layla Harrison is recovering nicely. I'm pretty sure your eyes have been digested and you can't reverse that.
There is a really famous Stephen Irwin, the legend that he was, video where he gets sprayed in the face with cobra venom. And over the course of the video, he is saying things like, oh, I can feel it starting to burn, my vision is blurring, and you're thinking, what the hell, man, get the anti-venom. But, you know, that's very brief. It's over maybe about a 10-minute, 10-minute video. Doggett is down there for ages with this stuff digesting his eyeballs, and Layla goes completely blind over this time.
Yep.
As I think that at this stage, if you can save their vision at all, it's going to be impaired for the rest of their lives.
And they're no longer FBI agents, they have to go and find other work. Layla can go back to accounting, sure, but Doggett kind of lost his way.
Yeah, I think you'd be beyond using your firearm after this point.
Yeah. It's really terrible that when Mulder's trying to get him to shoot at the creature, my first thought was, this is just like Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a nod on.
The shoot towards the sound of my voice bit.
Yeah. Which is at least cunning, but it's like the timing of that is just absolutely terrifying, and Mulder's extremely lucky not to be shot.
I thought it was kind of interesting in that this is Mulder's retirement from the X-Files, essentially. He's already lost his job at this point.
Yeah.
But this is the final Monster of the Week episode before season 10 and the revival. But Mulder is normally so on the nose that he can figure out who the killer is before even seeing the killer. And he's so duped by the Salamander Man.
Yeah, it's kind of feels odd, doesn't it? I would say there's a possible thematic issue as well, if you're reading it uncharitably. Of here is Doggett, one of the new X-Files people. Here is Layla, his new partner. Within half an hour of starting the case, they are both incapacitated and blinded. Mulder has to come to the rescue.
Yeah.
The kind of thematic upshot of that is the X-Files is going to fold without Mulder present.
Yeah. I did like the fact that final bit with getting Doggett to shoot at Mulder shows that Doggett and Mulder are starting to trust each other.
Yeah, it's just that they've got 2 episodes of it to capitalise on that before. Whoop!
Mm. But yeah, I feel it should have been a situation where if you're doing this and it's the baton handing off,
Yeah.
that Doggett should have been the one to solve the case of his own volition.
Yes. Or Mulder has bulldozed his way into this situation. He's the one blind in the tunnels with Layla or for some reason.
Mm.
Doggett has to come in to rescue them.
Yeah.
That feels a better way of doing it.
Because we've noted that Doggett has had a few situations now which have caused him to not believe, but start to see that there is something more there.
Soften, I would say.
Yeah. He's not as staunch in his it can't be anything supernatural as he used to be.
Yes. I think, to be fair though, it's still, after you've seen Man-Bat, I don't know how you can possibly stick with this.
Interestingly, the actor that played Salamander Man in his monster form is the same person who played Man-Bat in his monster form.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cute.
Yeah.
We should talk about Mulder a bit, given this is one of his swan song for the X-Files and Monsters of the Week and everything. Is surely he, and this will come up in essence as well, it's how is he getting into these places? Or why isn't he being ordered away because he's a civilian? He has no authority whatsoever.
My theory is he has the push, to be honest.
That would make sense, I suppose.
He's walking in with that badge that says FBI on it.
Kitsungari, couldn't that have been about Mulder discovering that, yeah, he even had brain issues.
Yeah,
he could have developed the push.
He had the kind of fantasy encephalitis previously.
Absolutely, you could have done this, but no. But it's one of these, it feels like it's the FBI as an organisation in previous incarnations, and Mulder is your star.
Mm.
And the two of them collide, and Mulder wins out over, yeah, Skinner should not let him near the site. Should have ordered him away. And yet he's still there, bothering people and trying to impersonate Kirsch, which felt a very odd. Mulder, you need to stop poking the bear. I know you're no longer the FBI, but I would still be afraid of Kirsch if I were you.
I'm pretty sure isn't impersonating a police officer a crime?
I'm pretty sure it is. So it's like, what are you doing, Mulder?
But this is the kind of thing where even if he found out that... Because our initial theory is that, I forget his name, the actual scientist in this who is the Salamander Man.
Herman Stites.
Because the initial theory is that Herman Stites in this episode... they don't hit on the fact that he is a lizard mutant.
No, they think he's keeping it.
Yeah, that he's keeping it and he's feeding things to this thing he's got in a murder pit, essentially.
Yeah, and you kind of...
So on that basis, if he turned out to be the owner of the lizard murder pit and Mulder found this out, everything could be discounted for the fact that Mulder is impersonating an FBI agent.
Yeah. The court case would throw out... Like, the court case would have thrown out so many previous things. I mean... Let's go back to Arcadia with the guy who owns the housing agency. He said, my laws are going to make you look so stupid. It's like,
yeah.
Yes, they really are.
That's exactly the same case with Lizard Murder Pit.
Yeah. And you kind of want to go to a point of what was the murder pit about? Because I understand you want to get, subjects to feed on as your lizard self. Although you'd think arranging it as your human self would make it easier than doing it as a lizard.
I always think that hitting someone as high profile as 2 FBI agents investigating a property might draw a bit too much attention as well. It's not like employing a contractor and then him just quietly disappearing or, any other way you could have done this.
Yeah, and I think as well what got lost in the episode writing is why did he go for his neighbour?
Not even his neighbour, he owns the property.
Yeah, but it's a person the groundskeeper.
He's the groundskeeper, yeah.
So the episode's missing a whole he's losing control kind of thing. And he's also, though, it's really easy to skip. He's a cold-blooded person to have moved Doggett's car to this convenience store to give him the false lead. And we don't get any kind of...
You've got that human-level intelligence still.
Yeah, but there's no comeuppance to that either. No one sort of says, oh, wait, we found someone else's fingerprints in the car or something.
Yeah. In Born Again style, they weren't human fingerprints.
Yeah. And we've also got... He's got these traps on his property. It's like, but how many people wander onto your house every day that you'd have these pits?
Mm.
I understand that if you this is a park and there was like a succession of backpackers going missing. Like, combine this with Field Trip. I could get that kind of thing.
I think I'd go more for, I'd want to see a killer, especially a high-functioning killer like this. He's a scientist, he's a very intelligent man, and we've established the fact he's still in control of his faculties.
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter in Bryan Singer as Hannibal, where he's got the Rolodex of people who have wronged him in the past.
Yeah.
So he doesn't attack people right away. He looks at these people who wronged him 3 years ago and pulls them out so there's no connection between him and them.
Exactly. I think, what that made me think is this feels dumb for him to do and think he can get away with it when you don't attack the people who are right next to you, because people tend to look very close to whoever died for the possible killer.
2 FBI agents have gone missing inside Herman's house. Who was in the house at the time? Only Herman.
It's like, we're then at the convenience store. They're going to go search the surrounding area and sort of see no one reported seen them, so they're going to come back to the first site and start looking again.
It should be noted that a lot of this episode was actually cut.
Yeah,
as well,
I saw that.
Which you can probably see. At 9 minutes of the episode had to be cut, which included a lot of scenes with Skinner, apparently, and at least one involving Scully.
Yeah.
Which could explain some of the kind of rushed nature that this episode kind of has, and the feeling that certain bits are maybe missing.
It could. I still think it's not going to fix the modus operandi of Herman, though, is it?
No.
He's still going to be your...
Unless, I guess, there were more scenes with, like, Skinner and Herman or something like that might have helped flesh this out.
Might have. It's still getting around the whole, he's attacking people in the vicinity. It's one of those, if he lost his food source for some reason and had to venture out and acquired a liking for human flesh or something, sure.
You're thinking like the Cathoga in Relic.
That kind of thing, yeah.
The fact that the Cathoga lost its food source, the only kind of comparable enzyme that it needed to eat was in human brains.
Yeah.
Therefore, it was forced to start predating things.
Exactly. That's a decent explanation of how the creature works, and that's workable as a model. Herman doesn't give us that.
No.
Should we talk about Layla asking the person in question?
I love... That sequence has enraged some people, but I love it.
I do like it. Well, I feel it's a perfectly good question. I mean, we did touch on this when we talked about Fight the Future. Is everyone fixates on how they got back out again? And I was kind of focused on how he got there in the first place. And it turns out it's not as hard as I thought it was, but it's still not something you can do at a drop of a hat.
No, I proved to you could actually get there.
You can, but not quickly.
No.
Yeah, there are ways that the Republic Mulder could have done this.
Yeah.
Not in the timescale Scully had. Or not very easily, because they've got to take at least an international flight to the tip of South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yep, correct. And then you can get to the Antarctic.
So that's a long old flight for 24 hours.
Especially as you're considering, we're thinking of this in UK terms, where it's a long old flight for us, it's even further from Washington.
Yes. Apart from New York, across New York to London, down West Coast. Anyway. So yeah. But yeah, Layla voices the very good plot hole at the end of Fight the Future of, okay, your snowcat was out of fuel, Scully was freezing to death, the spaceship has just taken off and left, how did you get out?
And they can't answer it.
Well, I think more they refuse to answer it because they get bogged down with Scully saying it's not a spaceship. I did find that slightly objectionable, just because of the episode when they think Mulder's dead. No, sorry, the end of when she goes to find Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
And she sees the spaceship hovering overhead, and it beams Jeremiah Smith up. Like, Scully, once you've seen that, you can't quibble about what caused that massive hole in Antarctica.
Yeah. I personally liked it. I thought it was a really cute reference. It's in the kind of same vein as the Simpsons one with Lucy Lawless, with if there's ever anything we can't explain, we just say a wizard did it.
Yeah. At the same time, you want to say, when they were doing Fight the Future, it's like, did no one say, oh, by the way, that time skip where we fade between two scenes, how did that work?
It should be noted as well that some of my favourite critics to read about the X-Files, particularly Paula Vitaris at Cinefantastique, loathed that sequence because they felt it was kind of making fun of fans who asked these kind of questions.
I mean, you could say it kind of is. I mean, I think being the tribute as in of itself means that it was well-meaning.
And I think the fact they can't answer it, it's not like they give a smarmy, obvious response for it. She's asked this pertinent question and there is no response because the creators know there is no response to it.
Well, I just realised the problem is a problem of editing, bizarrely, for Fight the Future.
Mm.
If you cut the one shot of Mulder's fuel gauge, you resolve all the problems.
True, yeah. You just say he drove back out.
Yeah, it's because they have that one shot, the fuel gauge being empty, that you have this entire problem. It's really strange. And also the fact that Mulder managed to drive to these coordinates and run out of fuel, 100 metres ahead before you meant to get there?
Yeah.
In the coldest part of the world, where you don't just go wandering over the ice without protection.
True. Especially as Scully has nothing. She's basically naked when she's found.
It has always bothered me a bit how on earth Scully survived the aftermath. Given when she's in the ship, it's going to be cold, but you can just about extrapolate that one. On the ice, no.
Is the episode after Tithonus?
No, I don't think it is.
Because if it comes after Tithonus, you know Scully's immortal.
That's true. Well, it does come after Clyde Bruckman, though, so we know Scully can't die.
Yeah.
Which we've always taken, but it is one of those ones you get to the implausibility. I mean, I think the problem is not so much it's Scully obviously survived. It's the case of it doesn't look right. And Mulder could have brought like a change of clothes. I mean, he presumably didn't know she was going to be naked, but warm weather gear would be good to provide for her.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd he didn't take that with him.
True. When she was taken, she didn't have a big woolly coat on.
No, she just had a suit and then they took all her clothes off. For reasons we're not going to just dwell on because that's what you do.
I like Alone a lot. I still like Alone a lot. It held up. My main problem with it is kind of the pacing.
It is all over the shop.
It's not so much it's all over the shop. It's the fact that our main players in this are, of course, Doggett and Layla, and what could be the start of a beautiful relationship here. And they don't get much to do because they're incapacitated so quickly, and then their portion of the plot largely becomes them stumbling around in the dark till Mulder finds them.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's coming back to both the baton handoff this is a bad baton handoff.
Yeah.
And Layla is there as this space to be occupied by very shortly. Here is our temporary one in tribute.
And the temporary one being kind of fun because I saw a description of it saying it gave Doggett the time to play a Clint Eastwood sort of character in there. Because you've got this annoying fangirl who's following you around citing X-Files lore to you while he's being the hard-boiled cop.
Yeah. I kind of like the fact that she was throwing out plausible things. I think the bile one felt like an extraneous reference. Because that stuff is clearly not bile, because the depiction of bile in Tombs is like a really dark colour.
It's kind of thick and yellow.
And that was just clear. So it's the invoking Tombs was a bit of a weird one.
I think we noted in Tombs as well that bile stinks, and you would know if you had bile on your fingers.
Well, Mulder's sniffing it, but yeah, he should be reacting well before that. So that one felt like a whole, we have to have a reference here. This is the best we can go for that people are going to get. No, I would say generally I enjoyed Alone. It's kind of odd that for a while it's going to be the last of an older mode. We're going to weirdly get back to it, but it's going to be a trip before we get to this kind of episode again.
Though at the time this was coming out, of course, we wouldn't have really even known that there was going to be a 9th season.
Had they not confirmed by this point?
I believe at the time the episode had filmed, the showrunners were aware.
Ah, okay.
But it was not a kind of general given thing because the entire 9th season hinged on certain people returning, which I'll get to in a minute.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good lead-in to talk about Essence. Directed by Kim Manners, written by that guy.
You don't even need to say it, I just hear the tune now.
It's really effective, isn't it? First broadcast on the 13th of May 2001. Guest stars, there's, these people, we've seen them before, we'll see some of them again, some of these are the last appearances. We have one new person.
Okay.
This would be Frances Fisher, who played Lizzie Gill.
Oh, that's the red-headed woman.
The red-headed woman, the helper for Scully around the house. She has had an enormous storied career. She has an entire separate filmography page on Wikipedia.
Oh, wow.
We have seen basically none of it.
Good to know.
Except, and I can know hearing this, I then said, oh, it is her. I can't remember who she is, but I remember seeing her. Titanic.
Okay.
So just think about her, how she looks in a minute, and you can imagine her in like the upper class outfits in Titanic. She is in one of those shots.
Okay, sure.
And the Watchmen TV series.
Okay, I haven't seen that yet.
Would you like to tell us essentially what Essence is about?
Sure. Scully and her mother Margaret are preparing for Scully's baby shower. Margaret invites a woman named Lizzie Gill to help Scully around her apartment. This is not someone that Scully knows, but she comes highly recommended. However, unbeknownst to Scully, Jill is tampering with her pregnancy medications, switching out the pills with something that we do not know what. In the meantime, Billy Miles infiltrates Zeus Genetics, kills Dr. Lev, who was the head scientist there, and burns the laboratory to the ground. All the evidence within Zeus Genetics is therefore destroyed, including a viable hybrid fetus. Mulder sees the report of this fire on the news and goes to inform Doggett about it, asking to go along with him so they can survey the crime scene together, something Doggett agrees to. Mulder realises that Dr. Lev is connected to Scully's former OB, Dr. Parenti. They head to Parenti's office and search it, much to Parenti's chagrin, and find another storage room which contains the same hybrid fetuses. Parenti, of course, denies everything. Back at Scully's, we see Jill leaving for the day, only she gets into a car that's driven by Duffy Haskell. She tells him that she thinks that Scully now trusts her. At the lab, Agent Crane derides Doggett for dealing with Mulder, kind of feeling that this is all kind of to Mulder's call rather than Doggett's himself. Mulder and Doggett wind up heading back to Parenti's office, but discover that Billy Miles has beaten them to the punch and decapitated Parenti. They confront Miles, with Mulder being thrown to the ground and knocked unconscious, while Doggett shoots him several times, though Miles still keeps coming. However, Miles still manages to escape them and runs away. While they are relating what happened there to Scully, Jill overhears them and contacts Haskell, who is at another illegal human cloning facility. At the other end, Haskell is attacked and decapitated by Billy Miles. As Doggett, Mulder and Skinner review Haskell's murder, Scully manages to catch Jill in the act of tampering with her medication. Scully is rushed into hospital, however they determine the fact that Jill was actually only feeding her vitamins. Under pressure, Jill does confess that she and Haskell, as well as others, have been monitoring Scully's pregnancy as part of the alien colonists' plans. She tells the agents that Scully's baby is the perfect human child with no human weaknesses, ergo, due to its alien DNA, is more human than human. Mulder fears for Scully's safety and prepares to have her taken away. Doggett and Crane receive a call from Miles claiming that he wants to surrender and is waiting for them at Parenti's office. However, when they arrive, they realise that no one is there and it's all been a distraction while Miles goes after Scully. Mulder and Scully try to escape her apartment building and are saved by Kryzik, who arrives just in time and runs Billy Miles over, giving them chance to give away. He takes them to where Doggett and Skinner are waiting, but we see that Miles is still okay and getting back up. Kryzik explains that Miles is one of a new type of aliens that are trying to wipe out humanity's abilities to survive the invasion. This includes Scully's baby. The aliens are afraid of what the human hybrid might signify, and therefore are trying to get it killed. Mulder gets Doggett to send for help, and he calls for Reyes, who arrives just as Miles also shows up at the J. Edgar Hoover building. With the help of Kryzik, Doggett and Reyes, Scully is able to sneak out the building and is driven away to an unknown location by Reyes. Mulder and Skinner, in the meantime, lead Miles onto the roof, where Mulder pushes him off the building into a waiting garbage truck, which compacts him. The episode ends with Agent Crane pointing Scully and Reyes to safety. However, as he turns around, we see the bumps on the back of his neck, revealing he is another super soldier like Billy Miles.
Thank you. We'll dispense with some of the not seeing into the future, because we have a good way to refer to Billy Miles and co. other than Super Soldier, and
technically this whole arc is called the Super Soldier arc.
And no one said the word yet, but that's what we're dealing with.
Mm.
There are so many places to start with this. I mean, I think the first one is someone getting Skinner to explain what just happened. So it's like, sir, you got a garbage truck to pause in front of the FBI building. And then Mulder, a person we fired 3 weeks ago, pushed a man from the top of that into a garbage compactor, then compacted the man inside.
I think we've got to consider it with massive spoilers here for the most recent Halloween movie. The bit where all of the local residents, including the police force, have to agree that, yeah, we have to run Michael Myers through a garbage truck. A trash compactor.
Yeah. And we also know the studio have already said it's not going to work. It's not going to be a direct sequel, but there will be another Michael Myers.
We also don't know it's going to kill Billy Miles. We don't know what the capabilities of these things are.
We don't. But can you imagine have this conversation Skinner's going to have with someone of, so you did what?
Bear in mind that I think Kirsch is technically the person he'll have to report this to as well.
It's like, can you imagine trying to talk to Kirsch about this? Sorry, Assistant Director Skinner, you did what?
And you managed to get at least 4 other FBI agents on board for this.
Yeah, and one thing I think is really screwy about it, I mean, I understand the logic to a point of that bit of road has to be where the car park comes out, because otherwise the road isn't going to be that close to the edge of the building.
Yeah.
Just for sheer practicality. It just feels weird that when you've sent Scully and Reyes off in a car to escape, that the garbage truck then blocks their exit and Billy Miles falls into it. Like, if it's fallen short and onto the pavement, he could have got up and they're sunk.
Mm.
It feels a really strange plan.
It's an exciting ending, though.
It is. And then we get the cliffhanger, which you want to go, but if he's also, then what's going on?
I feel if we're understanding what Krycek says is true, and based on interviews with Nicholas Lee, I presume Krycek is actually being legitimate at this point.
Okay.
The super soldiers all want Scully dead because they're afraid of what her baby might be able to do if it's allowed to come to term.
Yeah.
Which means he could have just smashed through that truck and murdered both her and Reyes at this point.
Exactly.
He's got nothing to fear from 2 FBI agents with guns.
Yeah, it's a stupid cliffhanger.
Mm.
It doesn't make any sense for him to be a super soldier and then let them go.
Mm.
And so with the whole, we could pick him up later. I mean, we do also have to go with this whole process. I mean, I said to you early on, is I still don't understand why we need these rather than the shapeshifters. We can just have a new gang of shapeshifters do this.
Mm.
Who could also hide better and blend in and not be caught places where they shouldn't be caught.
I think we've got too many different sorts of hybrids on the go now.
Absolutely.
Because these things, it doesn't specifically call them hybrids. They're portrayed more as being pod people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's noted in this episode that they have red blood and not the green alien blood.
Yeah.
Which means that our whole alien plan throughout the early seasons was to create a viable hybrid. We kind of now have 2 different distinct hybrids on the go.
Yeah, what is going on? And at the same time, the episode also made really clear that the distinction between Mulder and Billy Miles is so nebulous, ultimately. Because it's the whole, Billy Miles went through a horrific conversion process. It's like, yeah, and then he just had a second heartbeat and shed his skin and was the Terminator, apparently. And Scully gave you some antivirals and you were fine.
And you've got to assume that psychologically Billy Miles is now dead. He is whatever this new Gestalt entity is.
Yeah, I think it's not giving Mulder that vaccine when he came back makes this hard to land. Because you could buy with that vaccine, as much as vaccine is the wrong term for what it does, if you've been given that, you could then say, okay, the process has been halted in Mulder. We know this works on other circumstances, so that'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's the fact that Scully does it with traditional Earth medicine. You go, that feels like Mulder could turn at any minute. I don't know if that was a plan, because certainly there's no indication Mulder's going to suddenly snap and become a super soldier, is there?
It'd be kind of interesting if he did.
It would have. Tune in next week to see if it happens. Spoilers. He's in season 10 and 11 and he's not a super soldier.
It kind of nods towards it in the beginning monologue as well, but it was sort of interesting the fact that essence and existence as a philosophical term is kind of interesting. Because it's harking into the idea that, in philosophy, essence is deemed to be more important than existence, because essence is the kind of potential that anything has.
Okay.
And existence is the physical form. So think Platonic worlds of the forms of the essence of something is not the same thing as you're seeing. It's the pure and immutable truths of an object, whereas the existence is what you can perceive.
Okay.
So I thought it feeds in nicely to both the kind of natures of whatever Scully's hybrid baby is and the kind of concept of these alien super soldiers and what they kind of pertain to.
I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, but I seem to remember it was frustrating the first time round. And the real problem with super soldiers as a concept, and we're going to have to deal with much more as we go forward, is they're not really distinguishable from the bounty hunter.
No.
Except that he has an edge on them. Because he's if you shoot him, you will die. He can also be anyone and can blend into any environment. That's great. I mean, and the super soldiers are, okay, so we take an abductee, we torture them for 7 months, and then leave them to die. And if they do, they then become a super soldier.
Yeah.
Is this really a viable plan?
I thought that you've hit a point mentioning the alien bounty hunter, because this episode for me, other than Scully's pregnancy adding a kind of extra twist to it, was a retread of Colony and Endgame.
Yes.
Because you've got the idea of people who are involved in a cloning program being bunked off by an alien.
Yes. I mean, you did mention that to me while we were watching it, and it's impossible to get away from the conspiracy hasn't evolved and has regressed. Because well, as you said, we've gone right the way back to season 2.
Yeah.
We've undone so much of the conspiracy, we haven't built on anything. What the alien plan even is seems to be the same old alien plan. That intergalactic war that happened seems to have changed nothing. And the aliens want Earth for some reason. That no
I don't
one's
think
really
we've ever explained it other than the fact of the black oil reserve and all their essentially liquefied children being under there.
Yeah, and it's always a tough thing in modern sci-fi when you try to do aliens want a planet for some reason. I think Pacific Rim kind of hedges its bets enough that you don't know exactly what they want, because there's no way of communicating with them. Except for a bit in the second one did it a bit, and that was, we don't talk about the sequel much. But it's like, I always think of Cowboys versus Aliens.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit where Harrison Ford kind of says, oh, what they want are gold or something. And then, rather stupidly, yes, the aliens actually do want no gold. Like, what are you doing?
You often see it as a resource thing in sci-fi, because even thinking back to my childhood beloved series of the Animorphs, you've got this kind of parasitic race that essentially scorches whatever planet they're on. And so they're always looking for the planet with the best resources. So they see Earth, where it's got, lots of different natural resources. It's got hundreds of different species they can possess and that sort of thing. And that's why it's appealing.
Yeah. I think there are sci-fi series that have done it well. I mean, the other one that is obviously Star Trek with the Borg.
Yeah.
It's like Earth is not special, but you don't want them to have it.
Yeah.
Because that's really bad for humanity. So, yeah, I can understand stakes. Is it a nod to Lovecraft? Because there's actually a thing in Lovecraft where the Elder Things want Earth back. Because it used to be theirs.
Is there?
Yeah, it's in, I can't remember which stories it just crop open, but there is something where they had Earth originally and they want it back.
But you bear in mind, from a Lovecraftian perspective, reality is a dream anyway.
Yes, so I would appreciate there's a lot of different things going on. But yeah, the X-Files has never articulated why the aliens abandoned Earth, or they want Earth back, or what they're going to do with it, or why the colonization program has to take place in secret when clearly you could just come down and
en masse.
Yeah, vaporize the entire continent, do Avatar Last Airbender, have the Fire Lord just scorch the Earth clean and rebuild afterwards.
Yeah.
It's weird. Anyway, we'll go back to this. We're going to go back to the start of the episode. So we've got Scully has no friends.
No. Everyone at this baby shower seems to be someone her mum knows.
Yes, except maybe, and we know it's not, but Arlene Pleggy is in there.
She is, but she's not credited as her usual Arlene character, who's Skinner's secretary.
Yes. I mean, I would have credited her as Arlene Pleggy. I think that's kind of the whole desperation of Scully. We talked about this alone, but Scully has no life, and Scully has no friends.
I think you could at least throw some colleagues in there. We could have thrown Reyes in, or Layla, or something like that.
Well, to be fair, Reyes is in New Orleans until she's summoned.
But you still could have invited her to your baby shower.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, actually. That could have cleared up a whole bit later in the episode where Reyes has come here for Scully's baby shower. Sure, they've met once, but maybe it was a really good, intense reaction.
Scully did like her.
Yeah. So
I mean, throw Hickey in there. I wouldn't question his presence, to be honest.
Yeah. Just all the lone gunmen would just put on there. It's like, why are they here? I don't have any friends, Mom. They're the best I've got, okay?
Fro Hickey visited her when she was in a coma and brought flowers. Exactly. We can invite Fro Hickey.
We can invite Fro Hickey. But yeah, and you asked the really relevant question, which I think is a good one of, so, Lizzie, how long has Mrs. Scully known her? To foist her on her daughter?
Yeah, based on Permanum and the level of claustrophobia, we did say they didn't do it as well as they could have done.
Yeah.
But that kind of pregnancy claustrophobia where Scully realises she can't even trust her own doctors.
Yeah.
Would you trust your mum to wheel this random person she's just met but has come highly recommended in there to help around your house?
Yeah, no. So I'll put a pin on that because I'm going to come back to it in a minute because there's a few other complications with her which I think are weird. But I mean, it's Mrs. Scully cannot have known this woman very long anyway.
No.
It's got to be a matter of months at best. And
well, at level best, they wouldn't have shown an interest in Scully till she got pregnant. So let's say the woman has known Scully for all of about 8.5 months.
Yeah. Absolute most. The other thing I thought was odd on a related note to that is Denise Crosby's character is Scully trusts her as a doctor. It's like, you trusted your last doctor, Scully. How can you trust anyone in the medical establishment? Why do you trust her?
There was even that horrifying sequence in Permanum with the other doctor she trusted showing her the recording rather than her own ultrasound.
Yeah, it's that, and it's just, she's really blasé. She says, "Oh, she's my own doctor. I trust her." And to come back to the pin, though, okay, so this is a weird complication thing.
Mm.
So we trust Tasha Yar because unfortunately that's all I can think about when I see Denise Crosby. She says all she was doing was feeding you supplements, the kind of things you're meant to have while you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay, so paranoia mode. Are you sure that she's telling you the truth? Because I wouldn't be.
I'm going on the legit basis, though, of let's say those are vitamin supplements, which, as far as we tell in the episode, they actually are.
Yeah.
Would you, as a nurse that Margaret Scully trusts implicitly, suggest these, and at which point Scully as a doctor would say, I'll just check with my medical practitioner.
Yeah.
And then there would be no need for the subterfuge.
Exactly. Well, there's a complication come off that as well, though. So Lizzie discarded the existing pills and replaced them with supplements.
Yeah.
What were the pills? Did they not do what they said they did? Did they do something else? Does that then mean that Tasha Yar actually is engaged in the conspiracy, given she would have prescribed those pills to Scully that were then replaced by herbal supplements?
I love that shot where Scully catches her replacing the pills, just because it's so kind of vaudevillian when she does it. It makes me think there's a sequence in Buffy, and I can't remember where it falls, where Xander catches the school lunch lady poisoning the school foods, and she's doing so holding in a massive jug that just says rat poison down the side of it.
It's
a box. Just pouring it in there. And that's why I just thought when Scully goes into that bathroom and sees this woman there with a huge envelope of pills pouring it into something.
I can't remember the episode name, but it's one where Buffy is psychic.
Okay.
But no, follow me. The conspiracy, though, is if they're herbal supplements, that's fine. What were the pills that she replaced?
Yeah.
That Tasha Yar prescribed to her? Were they not herbal supplements?
Good question.
I mean, and also, it feels like a kind of wrong footing you in terms of the conspiracy of, she's feeding Scully something weird and unnatural, and it's herbal supplements. So it's that, as you said, there were better ways to take them, or what was wrong with the medication she was taking? Would that have done something detrimental to the child? And that leads into the later reveal that, they want Scully to give birth. And you go, what? After all this time?
This episode had polarising reviews at the time it came out, but I think it was Zach Handlin from the AV Club that gave it one of the more positive reviews I saw, and even he referred to the episode as a blur. He said, it's really, really exciting, it's very fast-paced, but what the hell just happened?
I don't have any idea. I get that you've got Liz and Duffy Haskell wanting Scully to give birth because she's pregnant with something they think is good, some kind of alien-human hybrid, where she said it basically is that.
Yeah.
More successful than all the other ones they've got, which just look like aliens. This one apparently looks fine. So I kind of like the twist that, she was actually helping Scully the entire time, but as you said, the subterfuge thing is really strange in that case, and the fact that she wasn't cautious enough. And also when she got paranoid when, Doggett and Mulder were asking questions about the other pregnant women, she's saying they're asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Were they? I don't think they were, because no one was looking at you suspiciously.
Yeah.
On the back of that as well, though, okay, so the super soldiers don't want the baby to be born. And yet Billy Miles kills 2 doctors, fails to kill Mulder, and then goes for Scully.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you start with pregnant lady. I mean, like, you could contrast this to Terminator when, Arnold goes through three
Are
wrong
you
women.
Sarah Connor?
Yeah. But the whole point was he's a robot. He's looking at the phone book for a list of Sarah Connors and he's working down that list in order.
Yeah, and luckily
And she had
the
the
main
last
one's last.
Yeah. And so that's explicable. I understand that one. I don't understand why Billy Miles knows exactly who Scully is, has talked to her in the hospital after he shed his skin and became a super soldier, and waited 3 months to kill her. Okay, maybe not 3 months, but an interval of time.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Still, it's nice to see Krychek.
Yeah, even though he's had a real change of heart here.
Yeah, I thought that was, it feels a bit like weak writing of, didn't you tell me to kill Scully's child 2 weeks ago? Oh, yes, but that was before I knew what it was, or something.
I don't know how canonical it is, but I saw an interview with Nicholas Lee, which I alluded to earlier, where his feeling is basically Krychek has realised that this kind of end of the world has always been a nebulous thing, and now it's actually looking like something that could happen. So he's essentially hedged his bets and thought, alright, yeah, there's one group over there that might have a chance of doing something. I'll actually tell them what I know this time.
Okay.
So therefore, in Nicholas Lee's mind, at this point, this is Krychek being genuine and trying to protect Scully.
Wow. I mean, he does generally do a good job when they leave her with him.
Yeah.
Which is one of those, really, would you do this?
I like the bit where they just give it to him and say, Krychek, keep her safe. It's like, this feels dangerous.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him to do this. But no, he's apparently on the level, which is quite a shock. At the same time, it's that, Krychek, do you want to just, while you're being on the good side, do you want to just quickly give us a rundown on everything? Because, we don't know half of what's going on.
Krychek probably has the best grasp of anyone now that cigarette smoking man's out the picture.
Yeah. And again, has he told anyone he's dead? Because I don't think he has.
I think only, Marita and that one nurse
are
the only people who know.
Which feels really weird. Why isn't he gloating about it or something? I mean, that's his thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no argument here.
It's a blur, and you want to go, wait, why? And on the back of Alone, we've got the whole Mulder just kind of wanders into these crime scenes and these restricted areas and breaks into places. And Doggett, you're a police officer, and Mulder is
a civilian,
and he's just broken into 2 clinics. He keeps wandering into these crime scene areas and
literally touching everything.
Yeah, literally, and it's there's a bit of police corruption in here. There's a bit of that baton handoff is going really badly still, I feel. I don't think you meant to just let Mulder do what he wants.
No.
And yet we do. But to come back to it as well, we've got that thing about Scully's lack of social life and Mulder's lack of anything anymore. I think that's the weird one, is they're not even trying to give him anything now, because he's not looking for work. Like, Mulder, most people struggle to afford rent month to month. Were you paid that well as an FBI agent? Because you had to cash that paycheck in Monday, or your rent wouldn't be due. So you are living paycheck to paycheck.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking that a special agent must actually be fairly well paid.
Yeah,
but
that apartment must be worth a bomb in that case.
Mm.
But apparently he's not looking for work and just watching Oprah all day.
I mean, if you can afford to do it.
But how can he afford to do it? I suppose, okay, I don't know, okay, his mother's dead, his father's dead, he's inherited generational wealth.
Yeah, he might have sold the property in Martha's Vineyard, for example.
And is now just coasting around watching Oprah all day.
Mm.
Going to maternity appointments with Scully. Fair enough. We got Reyes back.
We did.
We like Reyes.
We do.
We shouldn't trust her.
Are you still just hinging on the fact because she smokes?
Well, I'd actually forgotten about the smoke. I mean, that is an interesting tell. It's so weird that was put into her first appearance.
She's giving up.
She is. It's a completely superfluous detail, though, to her character. Other than, because the through line of people who smoke is they are bad people in the X-Files. Given what it's Cancer Man and Reyes. Does anyone else smoke?
No, I don't think so. Scully when she's being rebellious, but that's about it.
And when she was younger, though, wasn't it?
Mm. Well, and in the likes of Three of a Kind, when she's not in her right frame of mind.
Yes, yeah, and that's got reasons behind it. Like, okay, out there, Moss Fletcher smokes Morley's as well.
Yeah.
That's the whole, the man in black thing is to smoke. It's really odd to do that to Reyes. As much as Scully liked Reyes on that first meeting, and she has interacted with Mulder since. It does feel like once you've got the Billy Mal super soldier thing as a concept, I know you don't know what to look for at the moment, but can you actually trust Reyes? Because she's in New Orleans and you haven't talked to her for weeks. Do you know that she's actually on the level? But they do.
Trust no one.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the first time I watched this, I was pretty sure that Reyes was going to turn on them. Because obviously, when, back in 2000, whatever it was, season 9, I think season 9 might have been announced, but I don't know if I knew she was in it or not.
Okay.
So I was watching this on the expectation that any moment she's going to turn face. So that was actually kind of a tense thing. Thinking, oh, you've done the wrong thing. That's why they let you go at the end, because they've got an agent in the car.
Yeah.
They can take you off somewhere safely to do it and no one can intervene. I kind of get trusting Reyes. At the same time, it feels like with the Doctor, they're not being paranoid enough. They are trusting people without any reason to trust them.
As I mentioned earlier, the critical reception of this episode was about as polarizing as I've seen for the X-Files. People were either very complimentary about it or scathing.
What was complimentary? I'm curious.
Well, we've already kind of talked about people like Zach Handlen complimenting the pacing of the episode. There were also comments about the story, that it felt like it was kind of harking back to the old mythology arcs of old. Tom Kesinich, I think, said, "Thanks to Essence, I've become a believer again." And some other people commenting on the fact that, unlike some of the other conspiracy-based episodes, the concept of this one is really, really simple. So it's a fast-paced episode that audiences don't get confused by. And therefore it's very easy viewing.
Okay, I can see that. I think harking back to an earlier episode is kind of like should be a red flag. But
you bear in mind that a lot of the critics we've seen across the series have said it's not like the old episodes anymore. So this is what people wanted. Is it to go back to its heyday? So maybe while we're being critical and saying it's a lot like Colony and Endgame, that's what the fans actually wanted.
Yeah, I suppose so. It was a simpler time.
Yeah, the most scathing one, I think you can probably guess.
Well,
as a certain person who hasn't liked a lot of this season, to be fair.
Well, we haven't brought it up. I mean, and I think you alluded to it in Alone. Is we're going to talk about, presumably this is going to lead into a discussion about Scully and how she's handled.
It is indeed.
I figured.
And there is one kind of contemporary critic who has been very vocal about how Scully's been treated in this season so far. Have you got a guess?
PV?
Cinefantastique's Paula Vitaris, who I must say, although she's been very critical of the X-Files lately, she makes very good points.
Yeah.
She gave this one 0 out of 4.
That's harsher than normal, but I mean, it's the running problem of making Scully pregnant means that everyone says she can't do anything anymore. And like we mentioned in Alone, it more illustrative here is that she has no friends, she has no hobbies, she has no life outside of work.
Paul Vitaris' criticism was less on that, and it was more of the fact that we've portrayed Scully consistently as being a very strong female role model. People got into studying STEM subjects because of Dana Scully.
Yeah.
It encouraged women to take roles in forensics and in police enforcement and all the rest of it. She describes Scully, and I've written it down, as a passive, mostly silent Virgin Mary who is about to give birth to Jesus Christ. And I can't fault that description of Scully in this episode. Scully does nothing except be shoved into various cars. She commented throughout our article as well that she's critiqued in the past like misogyny within the X-Files, and that this kind of escalates it to an entirely new level. When you've got other than Reyes appearing in the last 4 minutes of the episode, Scully is our only consistent major female character in this, and all they do is shove her into cars while the men protect her.
Yeah, I mean, you could also, on the back of that, also argue that Scully's mother has been duped again.
Yep.
I'm fairly sure this has happened more than once. So that's not good.
Scully as well. We noted on the fact that Scully completely trusts this random woman her mother has found.
Yeah, I think the really strange part of this is that Lizzie is actually on Scully's side, sort of, as far as we can tell, which makes the whole distrust thing really confusing.
Mm. But Lizzie is also a scientist. She's a genetic researcher who is so flippin' bad at this.
Well, to say, we don't know. She's just said she is. I mean, how can we trust anything she says?
Yeah, but taking it her fault, she's not a unintelligent woman. She's a very, very highly educated woman who can't even switch some pills without being caught.
Yeah, well, let's follow this through, though. So, yeah, she's a competent genetic scientist who is prepared to just be a home assistant for a pregnant woman. It's like, shouldn't you want to be in a lab somewhere? Sciencing. Get Duffy Haskell or someone to do this. Except not Duffy Haskell, because we know who he is.
I think it's the idea of the fact that Scully would not accept a man in this position. And it's actually a very accurate thing of women is you're more likely to trust other women.
That's fair.
So while they could put a kind of woman who's roughly the same age of Scully's mother in there and she'd trust a woman in this situation, if her mum walked someone like Duffy Haskell into the room, Scully would be less inclined to trust them.
True. But there's got to be other people involved in this giant human cloning lab, which whooshes by so fast and we don't really sort of dwell on that place.
I would have thought, based on how Scully got attached to the cancer support group, Scully, we know, is taking prenatal classes.
Yeah.
You'd put another pregnant woman in that position.
Yeah.
You know, these are a government facility that have infinite resources. You could either have a pregnant woman or a fake pregnant woman in that situation.
Yeah. There are ways of doing this, and it feels that Chris Carter didn't think any of them.
Mm. Interestingly, I should note for Chris Carter as well is, for most of this season, they didn't know if this would be the last season. By the time they were writing Essence in Existence, they did know they were going to get one more season. Because Carter always said from the start that he would not continue writing The X-Files if Mulder was not a part of it, David Duchovny.
Yeah.
David Duchovny said, I am not going to be in season 9, which is why we knew Alone was going to be his last conspiracy episode.
Yeah.
He then changed his tune, Chris Carter, and said he'd changed his mind on the subject. He would only do it if Gillian Anderson would be in the season. And Gillian Anderson was reluctant to do so because she felt she'd been doing this for 8 years. She was getting typecast. She was essentially bored of The X-Files and didn't want any involvement. So Fox offered her what was described in the article I read as a generous incentive, in inverted commas, to remain. And because they secured Gillian Anderson, it meant they could secure Chris Carter and get one more season out of it.
They either bought her a boat or a house, didn't they?
Mm. But yeah, that's the reason we knew there was going to be a season 9, and therefore Essence in Existence wasn't going to close off our X-Files. But it's interesting to think that back at the time of Permanum and the previous recent conspiracy episodes, we did not know where this was going. This is the point where we knew that we were going to have to continue from however Existence ends.
Yes, and I think that not knowing at the Permanum stage kind of is magnified here that they didn't know where this was going, because dragging Duffy Haskell back in feels so weird at this point.
I didn't even recognise him.
I know. But it feels like he was over and over. I'm surprised he was still alive, to be honest.
Mm.
The other minor point is, we have Mulder breaking into places. It's when they break into the medical facility and the doctor catches them.
Yeah.
And it's just, no one bothers to stop and say how shady it all looks. It's like, Mulder breaking in, this is shady enough. They're wandering around, and Doggett finds another room full of human fetuses. Which again, you go, I'm pretty sure you're meant to destroy these. Why do you have showrooms for this? But then it turns out the doctor's there with a patient, and it's that reads kind of skeezy, given that you're in a locked office with the lights off, there's no one at reception, there's no hint anyone else is here, and you're in an internal room with a female patient.
Oh, yeah.
Bad vibes, man. And then Billy Miles just doesn't kill Mulder because he can't.
Doggett closes the door, and that's his weakness.
I didn't really come from your synopsis, did it? It's like when Billy Miles attacks, Doggett shoots him 3 times, or twice.
Doggett then retreats back into the fetus room, closing the door.
Yeah.
Waits a few seconds, bursts back out again, and Billy Miles is gone. So I have to conclude that doors are his weakness.
Yes. But Billy Miles also threw Mulder through a plate glass window.
Mm.
And was kind of menacing him when Doggett shot him. And at no point did Billy Miles take the few seconds to decapitate Mulder like he's decapitated everyone else. There's a thing in this episode, isn't there, about the parent of Scully's child and the sex of the child?
And we never actually get to the bottom of it because there's always an interruption.
Yeah, and it
does infer the child is a boy.
Yes.
You can kind of do that by the fact that Scully always says boy first and then kind of adds and girl as an afterthought.
She slips up enough times for it to be clear she knows exactly what gender it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why she's hiding it.
A lot of people do hide the gender. You want it to be a surprise.
You do, but then again, I think that's if you were if you had a wide friend network, the kind of that Scully doesn't have, that this would be a thing that would people be interested in.
Yeah, I think it's a question lots of people ask, but again, it's something that a lot of women want to feel private. One of my co-workers once voiced this as saying that if you have told everyone what the sex and name of your baby is going to be, there's no mystery and no one's really interested when the baby's born. Because it's like, oh, so little Jane's been born now, all right then. Whereas, there's more of an interest when your baby's been born then because people want to know, the answer to the mystery. Oh, was it a girl? And all the rest of it.
While I can't dispute that happening, I'd also call foul, given that then the co-worker will show up to your place of work with the child and everyone will crowd around and coo at the baby anyway. There is no loss of interest when that child is born. That's not true.
I think I've made clear that baby's not really my thing, but yeah, I do appreciate the baby walk at work where you've all got to pretend that their baby is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. But I know I sound callous saying that, but babies are not my thing.
No, not mine, but
I am a giant insect sort of person.
But there's no loss of interest when the child is born. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
In fact, people are more interested. So, yeah, I mean, it's up to Scully to not tell anyone. That's fine. The parentage thing...
I believe that following Per Manum, especially where we know there is something potentially odd about Scully's baby, more questions should have been asked. And it's not just Scully should have wanted these answers herself. If she doesn't know who the father is, we don't know if Scully actually knows.
Yeah.
But the people around her should have asked more questions at this point.
Yes. It's... I mean, not to be kind of jaded and cynical about this, but it's like looking at all Scully's trips to the doctor. And everyone's fine with it. And then you read the Am I the Asshole kind of things on Reddit and other horror stories from people currently engaged with America's medical practices, and indeed the UK ones.
Yeah.
The first question they're going to ask is, who is the father and where is he? Every time.
Whose name are we putting on the birth certificate?
Exactly. They would not let her do half of this without some kind of clue as to where the parent was. Even if she said in vitro fertilization, because she's not even just saying that.
No.
Because she could say that, and that would shortcut a whole load of stuff. And Scully could actually say, I don't know who the father is. It came from a sperm bank.
You presume that, as far as I'm aware from the way sperm banks work, they can be closed where she would not know anything.
Yeah.
But there would be a medical record of it somewhere, and you would have a record in case of any kind of genetic conditions.
Yes. I'm pretty sure we went over this in Per Manum, or one of the ones that came after it, of you can probably trace back to the original person.
But I believe it's all designed from sperm banks so that no one can be pursued for parentage.
Yeah.
They can be completely closed and anonymous, so you would not know.
Exactly. And I know there are certain things where people have reversed this painstakingly via whatever process. So it's not impossible to get at the person. It's just... it's hard to talk about, given I do remember how this works, and then how it gets a lot more confusing. Is it a carrot? The parentage of Scully's child, is it being dangled to the fans? Is all I can think of.
I think it is very much a Who Killed Laura Palmer sort of situation.
I was going to say even more directly than that. It's the fans have a theory, and they are not contradicting it.
I think it's the fact that we've all assumed that it's been set up for Mulder, but particularly in this episode, it kind of makes clear that Mulder does not know who the father of the baby is.
But I think it's the carrot dangling to sort of say, you know who you want the father of Scully's baby to be. We ain't saying no. We're not saying yes yet, but we aren't saying no. And that possibility, we're just going to keep dangling it.
But it means that Fox can have a great tagline later where they say, the father of Scully's baby revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think this plot line has stretched out for so long for no reason other than marketing and fan service. These questions shouldn't have been unanswered this long, because we've made this complaint a few times this season of people don't ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And people just, they kind of try to, and then they just get interrupted and no one ever picks the conversation back up again. It's happening too many times. It's really frustrating now. Next, we've got Existence, and we're going to wrap up season 9. Then we are going to do the thing, which we've been kind of foreshadowing for a bit, and we don't want to do, but we kind of need to.
We're going to watch all of the Lone Gunmen.
So yes, next week we will watch Existence, and we will do the wrap-up for season 9, so we want to hear best episodes, worst episodes. Is there a villain in this season? Can we have a best villain?
Oh, there's a salamander man.
Does he count?
Oh.
In the meantime, if you'd like to get hold of us, our email address is thingsgettingstrange42@gmail.com.
You can also find us on social media, and please do hook me up if you'd like us to present something at the start of the show, including any fan events, zines, cool bits of art you're working on. Just let me know. We're on Twitter and Tumblr at GetStrange42. We are on Mastodon at GetStrange42@universedon.com, and you can find us on Facebook by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast. Additionally, if you're not sick of my voice right now, I also stream live on Twitch TV under the name AdverseCamber42. I'm live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 PM GMT and Saturdays at 5 PM GMT. I'm currently playing the Silent Hill 2 remake on PlayStation 5 and Life is Strange 2 on PlayStation 4.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/thingsatgettingstrange, where for as little as $3 a month you can have access to our bonus episodes, including a Let's Play of the X-Files game from 1998 called The X-Files Game.
The Craig Wilmore Simulator.
The Craig Wilmore Simulator. Where you can entertain yourself by watching a FBI agent who is out of his depth, out of his field, die repeatedly as we force him into an X-Files plot, which tangentially involves Mulder and Scully. Our theme music is Envision by Kevin MacLeod. You can find that on Compotech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, please remember,
the truth is out there.